right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Gridiron Uncensored podcast. It's your boys, Trevor and myself tonight. And we're talking more 2024 college football season. And, we've talked about, the easiest schedules, the hardest schedules over the last couple of podcasts. So if you missed those, go check them out. Tonight, we're talking about the biggest games of 2024 or the must-see games of 2024. I think they kind of go hand in hand. It's subjective, everybody's going to have a different view. Trevor's list is a little different than mine.
Just a little.
You have a feeling, and I looked up I went through Reddit and some of the other, just trying to see what other people are thinking. And 24/7 put out a list that's like, just, obviously the like top 25 matchups that which makes sense. The people in Reddit were pissed. They're like, oh, wow, there's more games than just Georgia. And then, yes, but these games are directly going to affect the damn playoffs. So, I mean, they're huge. These are must-see games. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to be like 24/7 and people are going to crap on me. But I don't know. To me, again, it's subjective. We're not doing this to troll. We're just doing this what we see and how we see it. If you got a different opinion, let us know. That's the great thing about this. You can tell us and we'll talk back to you, man.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be called a homer after all this, but we'll see.
Very well, Mike. Hey, we've already got it before, so whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to it at this point.
Hey, dude, I got into a scrap with the Buckeyes this on Twitter this week, and they were, because I mentioned they hit the portal, really hard to boost their team. They're like, oh wow, we got 6 people, man. You're such a homer. How dare you? You're just a hater.
They are so sensitive.
I know. I'm like, I had no hate in my heart when I said that. I was just being straightforward. I think when you go and get day one starters, that's hitting it hard. You're getting top caliber guys. They're a top 8, transfer portal class. So I was just like, no, I'm not being biased. I'm just having an honest discussion. But boy, they were triggered, baby. Yeah,
they're sensitive. I don't even know why they'd be sensitive. It's like, yeah, we hit it hard, and we're now the favorites. One of the favorites to win the Natty. Like, I'd be proud of that stuff.
It's legal. Like, hey, read them and weep. Like that's what I would say.
But there's no hate coming from this side. Even though we're U of M fans, we are no hate.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if it was Michigan, I'd be all about that.
Oh, exactly. So either way, well, I know we got off on a tangent, but either way, it's one of those things. We're not homers. We're going to tell you straight and be truthful on our feelings. So let's get into these games, Trevor, and we'll talk, your list, my list, and for the listeners in the podcast, we've got a list up that we're going to run down. I'll post it on all of our social media pages, and but obviously we'll talk about them all too, so that if you don't have any of those or you can't see the video, you can understand what we're talking about. So, Trev, if you want, go down your list.
Yeah, I'll list them out, and then I guess you want to list yours out, and then we'll kind of talk about it.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, sounds good. So, so mine is more or less not from most important to least important as far as 1 through 10. Mine is just the list of 10 most important games, most important or must-see games, in my opinion. And mine starts out with Michigan at Ohio State on November 30th, Michigan versus Texas on September 7th, Ohio State and Oregon October 12th, Ohio State at Oregon, UGA at Alabama, of course, UGA at Texas, Clemson at Florida State, Bama at LSU, and Clemson versus UGA, Mizzou. Mizzou at Bama, and then I have Michigan versus Oregon on November 2nd. And that kind of rounds out my top 10, and it was a struggle, and I definitely, Brendan will tell you that I was definitely like hit or miss on how I was going to finish out my top 10, just to not make myself look like a homer and throw another Michigan game in there. But I mean, it's hard not to when Michigan literally has to play Texas, Ohio State, and Oregon, 3 of probably the favorites to be in the Final Four. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, those three teams alone will probably. I would be surprised if all of them, or if they weren't in the conversation for national title contenders.
No, I mean, I absolutely agree, and that's the thing is, homerism. No, it's simply Michigan is playing huge games this year.
Mhm.
Oregon is in the same. Oregon is playing huge game. Bama's playing huge games this year.
UGA,
Ohio State,
UGA.
Georgia.
There is a reason UGA is on the list a few times because they are playing a way compared to last year. This schedule that UGA has is a gauntlet.
Yes, especially like you said, compared to last season's. So no, again, it's non-biased. This is just going down the list. And like you said, I told Trevor before the show, I went through every single game in the damn FBS, and I brought it down to 50. And then I was like, okay, I got to shake this thing down to like a top 10, and maybe I'll do a list on Twitter of like the top 50 games. I don't know, but I mean, it was tough, So
Yeah.
Trevor, thank you for your list, and I agree. There's a lot of, I mean, all these are huge, and I'm going to bounce off yours for the most part. My number one for biggest, I've got or must watch Oregon and Ohio State, two teams that have really teed off in the portal. The Ohio State fans are going to get angry, but that's just what happened. It's a huge game. Two, I've got Georgia, Alabama. Three, Georgia, Texas. Four, Clemson and Georgia. Again, Georgia's loaded up. I mean, what? That's not biased. We're not Georgia fans. It's just how the hell it is. And then Michigan, Ohio State, obviously the game. Utah at Oklahoma State. I've ventured off a little bit from Trev on these, but that's to me huge playoff implications for the Big 12. Oregon and Michigan, and then Georgia, Ole Miss at number 8. Number 9, Clemson and Florida State. And number 10, sneak one in there, Notre Dame, Texas A&M. I know that's funky. I know. But I think it's a huge game for the playoffs.
It might
Trev,
be. It might be. It might be.
So guys, again, that's our list. I'll post a picture. Trev, let's have a conversation on just what are you feeling? I know I know you got some thoughts on mine.
I do. I would like to know that, like, man, like, so let me get this straight. You have, let's see here. The Ole Miss game kind of tripped me up a bit when you showed it to me, the Georgia Ole Miss game. I get why it's there. It just tripped me up a bit because I mean, yeah. It surprises me that the Mizzou Alabama game didn't make your list, but that one did. It kind of surprised me a bit.
So so I've got all these games like Texas, Michigan, Oklahoma State or the Mizzou. And
Texas,
A&M,
Michigan's also a shocker that it didn't make there.
So for me, on why I've got the Georgia Ole Miss one in there at number 8 is because Ole Miss, again, portal. They've done so much to build a roster. I mean, they're expecting to be one of the top seeds in the playoffs this year.
They're definitely contending.
Jackson Dart's back. They're all excited about that. They went out and got so much. So I feel like that's just going to be a huge matchup. And this is all basically seeding in the playoffs or maybe elimination, depending on what point in the season. And like I said, Georgia's got a tough schedule. So I mean, this could go bad for Georgia. This could go real bad for Ole Miss. It just depends. But I really thought that game is going to be massive for the playoff race and the SEC championship game. What's going to shake out with that? So that's why I've got them up there. Now, obviously, like you mentioned, the Missouri and Bama game, huge game. I've got that in the top 20. I mean, it's a monster game. But I think the Mizzou and A&M game is huge because A&M is before them, the Bama game. It's just who is A&M? Who is, what's Alabama going to be under new coaching staff? Mizzou lost their defensive coordinator, so I'm just curious to see what these teams are going to be. Mizzou's got an easier schedule. They could probably afford to lose a game and still make the playoffs. Maybe even at 10-2, I think they can make the playoffs. So that's why I've got them just a little bit further down the list of like this is a must, biggest game. I don't know. Might be wrong, might be right. Trevor, what do you think?
Not necessarily. I think look, there can be a case to be made for all of these games plus many more.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're in what's uncharted waters, for lack of a better term, for all of us college football fans and college football people that just analyze college football in general, because we're in a 12-team playoff now. So now these teams that were like bubble teams or top 10 teams before, now they would be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, and it's one of those things where an Ole Miss or an LSU can be an eighth ranked team and be in the playoff and then do a whole bunch of damage. So it's about assessing these, because at the end of the day, all of these games, Utah and Okie State, I mean, they may be affected in the playoff, but I really think that Utah is going to run away with that one. Okie, you know what? It probably would be a big game. And me personally, I'm questioning Mizzou and Alabama now myself, because like I completely forgot about Ole Miss, to be honest with you.
I mean, don't get me wrong; that's a Mizzou and Alabama. That's a no shit. That's a huge game.
Yeah.
All right. That's why like I was struggling to make my list and just trying to. I was looking at all the the different conferences and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's tough.
So yeah, real quick, what are we'll just say your first two out? What were your 11 and 12?
So 11, I've got NC State and Clemson. They're kind of, again, who is NC State? Because I thought they've done really well in the portal. It's another ACC team that maybe, one of our guys that we've talked about in past episodes, or it was 7-on-7, I believe we talked about it.
Yeah.
And NC State might be one of those surprise teams that make the last, bit of the playoffs, that 12th ranked spot. So
yeah,
that's why I've got them there. And then the Texas Michigan game, huge game early. But for me, they're different conferences. So I'm like, obviously it's huge. I mean, but it's early season. Teams change throughout the year. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'm going to bump it back just a little bit and see what happens, after Michigan develops a little bit more. And I mean, Texas, I've already got them in a playoff. I mean, they should be top 6 team, for me most of the year with what they have.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I get those. Yeah, my two were Utah and Okie State.
Yeah.
And then I had FSU and Miami. Only because of what I kind of am, I guess, riding the hurricane winds, I guess you could say, with the hype that they got going on.
I like that.
With Cam Ward coming in and giving that program a little bit of an excitement, I really think they can do some damage. So that's why I was thinking that the FSU Miami game could be pretty huge this year.
I agree. I'm excited to see that one and what Cam Ward does down there. In Florida State too. What are they going to be this year? I know they've lost a lot.
They did lose a lot,
but they've brought in some good players in the portal. DJU is going to be there, so I don't think he's on
a little stability.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's Jordan Travis level, but I think he gives us stability and a higher floor than maybe trying somebody else out. So that's what I've got no quarrels with your list at all. When you call it a quarrel, like nothing, I look at them like, those are huge games.
Yeah,
absolutely massive.
I did question your pick on Notre Dame and Texas A&M. Like I was just like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, so Notre Dame,
they're a tricky one.
They brought in Riley Leonard at quarterback. Another transfer portal quarterback. They're going to see if this one works out a little bit better. I know Hartman. We've said it before. We don't think they used him properly.
Yeah, Hartman wasn't utilized properly. I think Hartman was a perfectly good quarterback. They just didn't use his strengths to their benefit.
So this one is gonna. I feel like it's huge on a scale of what did Mike Elko do in the offseason with Texas A&M. They've got Connor Wigman at quarterback, which I thought was really talented, was really doing well with the team before he got injured. So I'm curious to see how they're going to do. But really, Notre Dame, are they going to be in the playoff hunt? They have to get through this game to be in that talk, in that conversation. Because I mean, they're one of the at-large bids if they get in that range.
Yeah, so. They don't get the opportunity to play for a championship.
Exactly. So
Bunch of idiots.
they have to do it. They have to bang out the regular season.
Yep.
Because they don't get that extra chance. I mean, they're who was it? Was it their athletic director? Somebody today or yesterday was like, "Oh, this is all the more reason why being an independent is so much more valuable." I'm like, you're gonna if you have a foul up in the regular season, and you're done, you're pretty much done for. Everybody else is gonna have a 13th data point, or maybe have a strong conference record to lean on, or that conference name that we know it maybe shouldn't happen, but the SEC, the Big Ten, they're going to get a little bit extra,
they're going to get some love
from the committee. They're going to get some love. So you're missing out on that by being an independent. I don't know. I don't like the whole independent thing. I think you should be in a conference. It doesn't make sense.
I get it for UMass. I don't necessarily get it for Notre Dame.
Yeah. UMass is cool. They're actually, I know they're independent now, but they're going to the MAC soon.
Yeah, that's a good addition. That's a smart addition for the MAC.
I think so too.
For both. I mean, for the MAC and for UMass, I think it'd be good for both.
Yeah, I agree. I'm curious, Trevor, on your number 7, Alabama LSU. What are you thinking about LSU this year?
So,
because I'm like, I think it's a huge game. I mean, it's always big. It's been one of the more fun rivalries.
So this was my main difficulty with throwing Alabama on this top 10 for 3 times, because if for whatever reason Alabama isn't what everybody wants them to be, which is, I guess, elite or some semblance of elite, I feel like that I'm gonna this is gonna kind of come back and bite me a bit on my most important games. But I really do think that it's more important for Alabama in this particular situation, and that's why it's on there, because
Sure.
Alabama going into going into the Tiger Stadium, I tell you what, man, it turns into a huge game for them, because any away game, because as you can see, the other two, Georgia has to go into Bryant Denny, and so does Mizzou. This game was a specifically tough game, I think, to see how Alabama responds going into a very, very hostile LSU crowd.
Yeah.
And that's why this one's really important, I think, for Alabama's schedule in particular.
Yeah, I definitely see that. It's always tough playing there. No matter how good LSU might be or whatever, it's one of the toughest places to play in college football. And the fans get insane, dude.
Oh my God, it is insanity. But the added factor to this is that it is at the end of the season, towards the end of the season. The game is on November 9th.
Yeah.
So you don't want to lose a game that late in the season.
Yeah.
Ever, regardless who it's against.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my reasoning behind that one. I'm sure I would have had to explain myself if I left FSU and Miami too. But
hey, even the FSU Miami game, man, it's, again, what is Florida State going to be this year? I was talking to one of our old time listeners. He's curious what I was thinking about Florida State this year, and I'm like, he said, are they going to be as good as the team last year? And he thinks they can be.
Right.
And I think there's obviously potential for that. I just feel like there's going to be a slight drop off, but there's still, I think, 3 to 4 teams in the ACC that are going to be vying for those playoff spots. And Clemson, to me, is the main, but Florida State is right there, and they have every potential to do it and to get in this time and to prove people wrong. But they have to get past Miami, who's done really well in the portal. I know Chris Ball's had some, issues with, game management, some other stuff, but it's a huge game. And I'm excited to watch that one. I know it's off the list, but like I said, there's so many damn games, guys. It's hard to.
We are going to have our work cut out for us this season. The amount of question marks in this going into this season is insane.
Yes.
I feel like The only really sure things that I feel like, and this is going to really hurt me to say, folks, I really do believe me, it hurts. The only sure things is UGA and Ohio State are going to be hard to beat no matter what. And I'm going to say this as a Michigan fan, I will be very happy with a 9-3 record for Michigan.
Oh yeah.
At this point. With an unproven quarterback, even though regardless who it is. And now they're already taking hits in the defensive secondary. Before the spring game even they get through the spring game.
Yeah.
So, it's a lot of question marks for Michigan. I think I was listening to a few people today, and a lot of people are talking about Michigan being big players in the second transfer portal. Trying to pick up maybe a few players depending on how they feel the quarterback situation is and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I think that may be true for a couple other teams as well. Maybe FSU and Miami both.
Yeah.
Being players, if they see some holes that they need to fill, like I could see them becoming big players and whomever comes out of that. Because look, at the end of the day, people are going to want to play. And if somebody like Michigan or even FSU or Miami come a call and be like, hey, we got a spot for you to start, I'm pretty sure not many are going to aren't going to be like, well, I don't want to sit on the bench all season. So,
well, even Josh Pate said, hey, this is going to be an insane spring portal. And, just be ready for it, because he said he's already talked to coaches. They're like, yeah, there's guys on our roster that have already told us, hey, we're leaving. So they're not even practicing them. They're like, hey, you're there and you enter it when you're able. But they already know who they're going to fill.
What was the kid's name from Michigan? He did that to the coaches. I forget his name. He said he's going to be transferring in April or whatever. I can't think of his name. English, I think his name was.
Carmelo English. Yeah. He's a wide receiver, which is weird because Michigan needs wide receivers. But who knows if he got offered something? I mean, he had a strange recruitment.
I'll tell you what. With that receiver transfer, it may even be indicating that Michigan's a little deeper at wide receiver than even we knew.
Yeah, maybe they're happy with who they have, and but there's on the insiders, they're talking about Michigan exploring the portal for a wide receiver. So who knows? But just be ready, because, like you said, people are all saying it, and you can feel it. It's going to be a wild.
It's coming. It's coming. It's going to be wild.
Portal season. That's why we're not doing our previews yet. We're going to wait till after the portal. Now we're doing. We're taking notes. We're getting this stuff going. But the spring portal's from April 15th through the 30th. Okay, that's 15 days of oh shit. Somebody better fork up some money to keep these guys on your roster, or if they're toxic, get them the hell out. Make them somebody else's problem. But it's going to be funky. So I'm curious to see who leaves, who goes to new teams, and maybe depth players, but it might be starters too, guys. I mean, there's no freaking telling. So be ready for chaos.
Look, especially the transfer portal is going to be very interesting, because a lot, like how many different teams are in quarterback battles at this point? Like, it's ridiculous. There's a ton of them. So there's going to end up being quarterbacks that jump into the portal that try and get a spot where they can potentially contend to actually play for a starting gig if they don't get it coming out of the spring. So I think that's an interesting tidbit, because there are, Florida State. I mean, I know they got DJ, but it could turn into a QB battle there. Michigan's got a heavy one. I know that Ohio State, that could get very interesting. Okay, so I did hear this scenario. And I seriously laughed my ass off if this ever even came close to fruition. So what if Michigan gets active in the transfer spring portal, and all of a sudden Kyle McCord decides to transfer out of Syracuse? Michigan gets Kyle McCord, and then Kyle McCord goes back to Ohio State and beats them as a Michigan Wolverine.
It would be a nuclear meltdown. Like you couldn't even go on social media. The platforms would all be fucking
crash.
It'd be so bad.
Oh
Well,
my god! But
talking
no,
Ohio State quarterbacks, so I mean,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
exactly. All joking aside, though, they have
They've got a hell of
four
a battle.
four quarterbacks that could
Yeah,
easily play at other programs.
yeah,
Two of them are very young. I think they're freshmen or sophomores.
yeah. Aaron Nolan and
Um,
then Julian Sayin, both
yeah, and then
freshmen. And
Devin Brown, right?
Devin Brown's another one. And he's he came in for them. The fans wanted him to be the quarterback last
Mhm.
year, and then
Yep.
he got injured early. And then
Yeah.
McCord, he was there, and then Brown came back for the bowl game, didn't do so hot, got injured.
Yeah, he got injured again. The poor kid. I mean, I feel bad. I don't like
I did
using
too.
he's just very unlucky. I don't want to call him injury prone because
I agree.
I mean, look, it's football, folks, and people are going to get injured.
Injury prone.
Like,
Yeah, somebody snaps your freaking ankle. I mean, you're not
yeah,
injury
that's
prone.
not
Somebody
injury prone. That is bad freaking luck.
I agree, Trevor. I hate that. I hate that term. Like it just happens, man. It's football.
Yeah.
But Ohio State does huge battle, and
Yeah.
Not to get too far away from the schedule talk, but it's just it's very interesting to see what might happen because they're talking. Hey, Julian Sands playing really really well at spring training. What if he beats out Will Howard?
Mm-hmm.
What would Will Howard do? Because and you're just like, I don't know. Could he leave? I mean, I have no idea. So
Well, I mean, I know I said it. You said it too. Is that Will Howard is just maybe slightly better than Kyle McCord was. I mean, he's just a slightly bigger, slightly
yeah,
faster version of Kyle
yeah.
McCord. Not really any bigger arm. He doesn't have a bigger arm than Kyle McCord. I thought Kyle McCord was a better,
Thought he was
more
a good
accurate quarterback, actually.
Yeah.
Just not as athletic. But like I said, it's just going to be super interesting how this spring portal plays out.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. You said it though. That's exactly why we're not doing the preseason until after the spring portal because, or not the season previews. I mean,
yeah,
because it's just going to be a whirlwind.
It's going to be
it's going to be hard to even keep track of all the transfers that are going to be happening.
Yeah, and just to mention, we mentioned like the first couple out, and I mentioned NC State transfer portal quarterback Grayson McCall. I really want to see how he does at NC State. I think that's a really cool fit for him, and that could really elevate that team. So there's a lot of transfers out there that have already happened. Could be so many more. That's why though I've got Ohio State and Oregon one. Just one, it's huge, and like you mentioned it, Trevor. There's only so many like knowns. I feel like this season, like maybe 6 knowns. The rest are kind of like, hey,
that could be great.
What are we gonna do? I don't know. Oregon, Ohio State, Texas feels like a known to me. Ole Miss feels like they're gonna be up there. I'm trying to think who else. Georgia.
Who'd you say so far? Yeah, Georgia.
Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, Texas.
I feel like you probably could throw Mizzou in there just because they have a veteran returning quarterback. They have a pretty darn good returning core group of players.
Yeah.
I feel like but outside of those teams,
so what, like 6, like somewhere in there, like
5, maybe 6 teams, maybe.
It's a lot of it's going to be a lot of like jostling and who's going to be in what position on the final 12. It's going to be tough to predict.
And you can just throw the whole like, oh, who's the known out of the Big 12 because there isn't one.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you could say maybe Utah, but hey, their starting quarterback was out all year long last year.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like,
I know, and that's why I've got that one up there because that Oklahoma State Utah, that is such to me huge game can Oklahoma State turn the corner from the lack of consistency last year, and is Utah going to be able to come in with Cam Ward and really hit the ground running? They don't have a bad schedule at all, but they've got those couple of games that you're Oklahoma State and Arizona that you're like, okay, you get through that. I mean, you're playoff bound immediately. That unless you blow it to Baylor, which did last year. So
it's possible. It's just a matter of correction. I love you, but it's Cam Rising.
Cam Rising. What did I say?
You put Cam Ward on Utah.
My bad. Cam Rising, the Bad Moon Rising. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, I don't know why I got Cam Ward on my
I heard
mind.
that's like, wait,
Hold
okay,
on.
I'll let him go for a little bit. No big deal.
On the online dynasty series that we're doing, Cam Ward is still on Washington State, but they made him a running back. So I don't know what the hell's going on. I've seen him around, so I guess he's just on my mind. Hell of a player. I'm excited to see what he does.
I am excited to see if he picks up where he left off with a little better offensive line and defense and probably weapons altogether. Over there, Miami, he's got a lot more to work with.
You got any other sneaky games, like big games that might, maybe get somebody going, or might have some playoff implications? I've got a bunch that I can think of, and
I've got like I don't have it on here, but I think it's going to come into play as a rivalry game that it's kind of down on the way, but the NC State game, could be very, very telling on how everything's going to play out. Because I really do, in my heart of hearts, believe that North Carolina State is going to be one of the teams to beat in the ACC this year. I think they're going to pick up where they left off last year with a better quarterback with McCall just taking it to a new level, I think.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. I really want to see what they do with him. I've got a couple. I'm just going to name them off.
Yeah, go ahead.
And that, let me know what you think. I know it might be silly, but we mentioned this when we talked about easiest schedules in college football. I think you might know who I'm leaning. Early bird gets the worm. All right, the Kansas Jayhawks versus Illinois. I know, it's Illinois, but look at Kansas.
But it's still Illinois. It's still Illinois. It's still a Big Ten team. Yeah. And both me and you talked about it, is that Illinois is still, like, they have a lot of talent. We talked about it last year, kind of early on, is that they were one of the favorites to be kind of like the, for lack of a better term, dark horse.
Yeah.
So it's not out of the realm of possibilities for them to develop that talent over one season of experience and see if that talent really kind of kicks it into gear this year. And it would be a statement win for them to go in and friggin' Illinois knock them down.
Yeah. I mean, Kansas, again, their schedule, easiest in the country. You and I both agreed on that, and then it was Cincinnati. But they have to get through Illinois. That's why it's so big to me. If you lose to Illinois, I don't know. I mean, you probably could still, win the Big 12, but it doesn't look good for you. And I don't know where you would fall in the final rankings with a loss like that and a weak schedule. You'd probably still make the playoffs, but it's just like, if you get through them, I don't see any reason why you can't be in the top, 10 of college football rankings at the final, and playing for a Big 12 championship. I mean, you're talking a potential top 8 team, depending on what the hell else happens. 13-0 Big 12 team. I don't know where they'll rank them,
right?
Just based on how the record is. But that's why, to me, it's a big one. I've got it down the list. It's further down, but to me, that's still a big one. A couple other ones: Michigan, Washington. Kind of, what are these teams? I think that's
it'll be a fun one. It'll be a rematch of the unknowns.
Yeah, rematch
from national championship to unknown.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. It's weird. Texas and Texas A&M. Just because the rekindling of the rivalry, that's a cool game. Like we mentioned already, the Missouri and Bama games, Missouri and Texas A&M, Kansas State games. To me, who is Kansas State? Kansas State versus Arizona. I really want to see what those two teams are with new coaches, with a new coach for Arizona, new quarterback for Kansas State. It just, to me, that's a low key, really good game, and I'm excited to see how that one shakes out.
God, we're gonna be so busy this season.
Oh yeah, dude, it's gonna be. We're gonna be getting the books out, and we're gonna be studying and figuring this all out, guys.
And also diving into the new NCAA football game too. On top of all that,
yes, we look that bad boy is gonna take up a lot of time. Okay, just believe that.
We're gonna do this podcast and then turn right around and start playing. Right afterwards.
Oh, there's no doubt
Oh
about it.
man.
Yeah, a couple of group of 5 games that I think are big because obviously they
Okay.
have the they have an automatic qualifier, which I love. I'm so glad that they have one. I know people crap on them. Oh, it's an easy win. I don't care. I mean we're all in the same league. I think they deserve a shot. Um, the Kansas State Tulane game, that's early. How is Tulane going to do? I thought they could have upset Ole Miss last year. Maybe they could do it this year to Kansas State. Boise State and Oregon, I think that's a really interesting one because Boise State's got a lot of returning talent. They went out and got a good quarterback from USC. Just an interesting game. I'm not going to say they're going to win, but how they fare in that game might tell you how they fare in the Mountain West and could be a top ranked team to make the playoff.
That's true.
And then the
I,
other
do-
one,
I have
OU.
one for
Go
you.
ahead.
I have one
Yeah.
for you. And this is going to sound like a homer one again. But what do you think about dark horse Michigan State coming out of the woodwork and actually making it a game with Michigan?
I've seen
The new quarterback and everything.
Yeah, I've seen people talking about them online and their potential records. Some are saying like 8 win ceiling, 9 win ceiling. Like, look, it's the first year. They were rough last season, but they new coach, they got new culture, new quarterback.
In all fairness to not to the Sparties, their season was not one to remember.
No,
it's one to remember, but not in a good way.
Yeah, I think most of them are trying to forget it.
Yeah. So,
but no, I think
that might be a low key kind of important, kind of mid-season type game for both Michigan and Michigan State, really.
Yeah, especially even if Michigan State isn't in the hunt and Michigan is, because for me, Michigan right now, I'd say they're an 8-4 floor, and they could go 10-2. I mean, I don't know
if they walk out of one of these 3 games that we have listed, the Texas OSU or Oregon game, I think they have a potential to be 10-2.
Yeah,
but there's also a route where they lose all 3 of these games.
Yeah, so
it's a possibility.
That's why you play Sparty. It's always a game. Even when you beat them 49-0, even if they beat you, it does not matter. You have to get ready for it. Yep. So yeah, I could definitely see that as being a big one. Last 2 that I've got. I'm curious to see Iowa with a new offensive coordinator. Brian Ferentz is gone, baby. If they can put something together on offense,
but Kirk is still there. That's the problem.
I know.
Kirk's the problem.
Hey, but they should still have a great defense. I don't know. I'm curious to see them versus Ohio State. And then last group of 5 one that I've got on my mind, UTSA and Texas State. Texas State has every chance to go undefeated this year.
All right, folks, just so you know, Brendan's got a hard on for Texas State. He likes them a lot.
I like their colors. I like their uniform. I like San Marcos. I like UTSA too. Like I'm a big Roadrunner guy.
Roadrunners, yeah,
they're always fun. But I see this game and I'm like, Texas State. If you can get past them, you probably go 12-0 with what they've done in the Porter, how they were last year, the coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's right there. Your playoff team in my books. So I don't know. Like I said, there's so many teams, so many games, guys. Give us your thoughts on them. I want to know what you guys think. If we're being homers, I don't think we are. We're just giving it how it is. Okay,
give it to you straight.
So, Trevor, you got anything else on schedules or the games? Anything you're thinking?
Man, it's gonna be a crazy season, guys. I'm really looking forward to it.
Huge.
I need to like not have a panic attack through this transfer portals part. And then we'll just be good. And then we'll work from there because I'm going to be pulling my hair out trying to figure out where all these kids are going to try and end up.
Yeah. So we're going to go in. We're going to do another show next week. And then we're going to take maybe a week off and get ready for some group of 5 talk. And then, like you said, we're going to start prepping and getting ready for season previews that we're going to get out to you guys, but it's coming after the transfer portal because we're not putting in the work and then having everything collapse.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pull some of these guys. Okay, there's no more transfer portal, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's a whole bunch, another group of kids that are just going somewhere else.
So yeah, we're gonna get you guys all that good stuff, and we're gonna break it down for you. But yeah, again, these are our biggest games. Must watch. You know, Barbara, thank you for the question. Sorry, got to you a little later, but hey, it takes a lot looking at these and trying to see what the hell. I mean, there's so many good games, so many
There
big
really
ones
is.
this year. The schedules
It's
are nuts.
the hardest part is just narrowing it down to 10 games. That was the
Yes.
hardest thing.
Like I said, I got a whole list here. I'm like, I've got lines, I've got stars, and like I don't know. So take it for what it is. If you hate it, go somewhere else. And I don't know. So, what else do you want from us? But all right, guys.
Oh man.
I don't know. Trev, you got anything else for tonight, my friend?
No, not really, man. Just hit that like, hit subscribe,
Yeah,
comment, send your questions our way. We'll hit them up. We'll hit the questions when we can during episodes, maybe even during season previews.
exactly.
And just yeah. Thanks to all for listening. We do appreciate you.
Yeah, big time. Thanks again for listening and comment on anything. You know, it can be YouTube, it can be on Spotify. It doesn't matter what it is. Hit us with comments. We like to talk about it. So yeah, thanks again. Reiterate what Trevor said. Y'all have a good night, and we'll catch you next round. Have a good one.
Later.